Happy 4th of July, Texans fans. I have a fresh video for you on tap for today. But before we get in, I got to ask you a question. It's 4th of July. What is your go-to item to bring to the barbecue/cookout? I was talking today, if I'm grilling up, we got to have hot dogs, hamburgers. I love some little beef short ribs as well. Throw them bad boys on the grill. If I'm bringing something, I like to bring some mac and cheese, maybe like a fruit platter. Always love to bring some chips, maybe some rolls. Let me know, what is your go-to item that you bring to the barbecue or cookout? And I'll see if you're invited to the Chuggs family cookout maybe in the future. Coming up on today's show, PFF absolutely disrespecting the rest of the Texans offense besides C.J. Stroud and the wide receivers. I'll tell you why PFF is wrong and why they are sleeping on the rest of the Texans offense besides Stroud and this receiving room. First up, got to talk about the offensive line. I saw this top 10 AFC offensive lines per PFF, and I was like, oh, the Texans aren't top 10 in the AFC for offensive lines? That's kind of crazy. Maybe they're 11, whatever. So I was like, I wonder where they rank among all the NFL teams per PFF. And I looked it up. PFF has the Texans ranked as the 22nd offensive line heading into the 2024 NFL season. And I think that's a little bit disrespectful in my opinion. That's saying that they are basically a bottom 10 unit along the offensive line. And when we look at this offensive line depth chart, I get a little bit where they're coming from because there's some question marks there. Kenyon Green is a big question mark. Scruggs is a big question mark. Tytus Howard coming off of injury from last season. That's another question mark. But I just don't know if they're a bottom 10 unit. What do you folks have to say? Is the Texans O-line a bottom 10 unit, or are they below average? Let me know in the comment section. Give me a yes, give me a no. What are you saying? Is the Texans O-line a below average unit? Because whenever I'm looking at this team, this is what I think. I feel like having an all-pro level left tackle should at least bump you into the top half of the league, in my opinion. Laremy Tunsil is one of the best in the league. I said in my video yesterday that Laremy Tunsil is the best pass-blocking left tackle in the entire National Football League. And if you have a guy like that, I don't think you should be a bottom 10 unit, in my opinion. But like I said, it is going to be a huge year for these three guys. Kenyon Green, Scruggs, and Tytus Howard. It is going to be a big prove-it year for them. Kenyon Green, a former first-round pick out of Texas A&M, has a lot to prove. He's looked pretty good this offseason. A lot of people within the organization thinks he's due for a really good season. Scruggs, who played guard last year but was drafted to play center, going to be stepping in at that center spot for this Texans offensive line. And as I mentioned, the injury history with Tytus Howard, a lot of question marks around him. Got that big extension last offseason. Will it pay off, and will he play better for the Texans in 2024? And next up, past the offensive line, we're looking at Joe Mixon. He was also disrespected by PFF, but not all disrespect for Joe Mixon among the streets. I actually saw this quote the other day, and I thought it was pretty interesting from Todd Gurley. Whenever he was naming his top 5 running backs in the league right now, this is what he had to say. The top 5 right now are obviously Christian McCaffery and Derrick Henry. I'm going to put Joe Mixon in there as well. His situation was kind of the same as mine. You can see how they exited him out. The Bengals is trying to throw the ball more. I'm like, give that man the rock. And PFF, they had no respect for Joe Mixon. They had him ranked as the 27th best running back in the NFL. Saying 26 guys are better than Joe Mixon, that's really hard to believe. And whenever I looked at the 9 guys who were ranked ahead of him, I can't say I necessarily agree. Devon Achane was, a little bit of a spark for the Dolphins last year, but he was very injured for that Miami team. He had some good numbers, but only played in about half the games. Jaylen Warren, he is not better than Joe Mixon. DeAndre Swift had a good year. I would argue he's around that same caliber of Joe Mixon, maybe. Alvin Kamara, obviously, as well. Najee Harris is not better than Joe Mixon. David Montgomery, not better than Joe Mixon. James Cook, Ramondre Stevenson, Rachaad White, all, I don't believe, are better than Joe Mixon. And when you look at his stats the last 4 years with the Cincinnati Bengals, over 1,000 yards in 2023, only played in 14 games in 2022, but had over 800 yards. And then over 1,200 yards in 2021. 13 touchdowns also for the Bengals in 2021. So he was putting in work for Cincinnati. And you can't forget also, with these numbers, he's putting up those type of numbers with Joe Burrow throwing for around 4.5 thousand yards a season. That Bengals offense was predicated on throwing the ball. They had T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase for Joe Burrow. So obviously it was a pass-centric offense, and Joe Mixon was still getting his throughout all of that. So I think PFF has Joe Mixon also criminally underrated. 27th in the NFL. That's saying that he might, next year not even be starter caliber. I can't see that. I can't believe that. I really think with him in this offense and how Bobby Slowik is going to utilize him, I'm really interested to see how he plays for this Texans team this year. I think he's obviously an upgrade over what they had last year in Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce. I think he is going to be a bell cow for this team going into 2024, and I'm really pumped to see another style of running game, another style of running back in this Texans offense, and see if Joe Mixon can maybe give a little bit more to this Texans team next season. Now, before I get to Dalton Schultz, you know the theme of today's show. It's a lot of disrespect being handed around in this Texans offense. I want to hear from you. Where would you rank Schultz among NFL tight ends? Go down in the comment section and let me know where you would have him ranked, because PFF had him ranked as the 16th best tight end heading into the 2024 season, which, shocker, I necessarily don't agree with either. I mean, I get it. Dalton Schultz, when you look at these stats, when you look at these numbers, you're like, wow, those don't really jump off the page for you. 59 receptions, 635 yards, 5 touchdowns last season for Schultz. But I think Schultz brings a lot more to the table than what people think. I mean, he was in an offense that, C.J. Stroud missed a couple of games. Dalton Schultz was kind of that security blanket for C.J. Stroud. And I get it. I don't think he's a top 5 tight end. I don't think he's, one of the best tight ends in the league. But I think he should be more close to around like the top 10, like 9, 10, or 11, in my opinion. And I think he's honestly ranked a little bit lower because he's not a flashy player. He's not a guy that you're going to go out and be like, oh, wow, he had 150 yards this game and 3 touchdowns. He's not going to give you a game like that. But he is a consistent player. He's going to be there. He's going to, be at the sticks, catch that ball for a first down. Dalton Schultz is the epitome of a safety blanket for a quarterback. And I think him being ranked 16 just shows, PFF, they're looking at the big picture. They're looking at, we want flashy names. We want guys who people are going to be excited about. And Dalton Schultz isn't a guy that you're going to be necessarily super pumped and super excited about. So that's why I think him, along with Joe Mixon and the Texans offensive line, all very low rated by PFF because simply they just don't know ball. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. As always, go down and hit that sub button for free Texans videos all year long. And if you are one of my loyal subscribers, I appreciate you so much for hitting that sub button. Almost getting to 15,000 subscribers on the channel. We're so close. If you are already subbed and you made it to the end of today's video, you're a real one. Go down and spam those H's down in the comment section so I can show you a little bit of love.